Police body camera footage of a Florida woman's traffic stop went viral after she was accused of holding a phone in her right hand while driving. But the issue is she doesn't have a right hand. Take a look at this exchange.
We were doing an operation for distracted driver and you drove past me holding the phone with your right hand, manipulating that phone. I mean, I saw you with the phone in your hand.
Not. Now, court records show the citation has since been dismissed at the request of the deputy who issued it. Let's go live now to CBS News correspondent Christian Benavides, who spoke exclusively with the driver. Christian, what did she tell you?
Well, look, she said that at first she took it in stride. She thought that after the deputy pulled her over, upon seeing that she did not, in fact, have a right hand, he said to her that he had seen her using a device with her right hand. She does not have one. So she thought after he would see that perhaps the whole conversation would end there. But the deputy still wrote the ticket. Now, the incident happened back in February, but the body camera footage was just released this week and it's gone viral. She posted it on her Instagram account and she hopes that this can turn into a lesson about how to deal with people with limb difference. Take a listen to a little bit of what she told me.
I would love people to take away is that limb difference is normal. Somebody who looks different than you is normal. All of that is normal. Normal is whoever you're most comfortable being.
So the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office told me in a statement that the deputy initiated the traffic stop based on visual observation at the time of the incident and based on the totality of circumstances, but that they remain committed to professionalism, fairness, and the lawful enforcement of Florida statutes. Now, eventually, this officer asked for the ticket to be dismissed. There was a court hearing that was supposed to take place this week, but prior to that court hearing, the police officer said that he wanted that ticket dismissed.
Just Katie's fine, or my social media handle, which is slightly off balance.
And that's been growing?
Yes, exponentially.
How many new followers have you gotten since this video?
Since the most recent one, last I checked, was over 150,000 within a few hours.
Can you just walk me through this video? I mean, I think what is so interesting to so many people is the way that the officer reacted. And I wonder what was going through your mind as you were talking to that officer.
Initially was, oh, this is gonna be funny, which is why I laughed, I cackled more like it. But then it became very apparent when he did not laugh or interact in like a friendly manner, that it was not gonna go that way. So then I think it more or less kind of, I wouldn't say it put me on edge, but it definitely left an unsettling feeling of, okay, like what is this? Like where are we going with this?
You mentioned that he mentions that you're using the phone on your right arm, or that you're using the phone with your right hand, which is not possible.
Yes, he quotes the actual statute or law, which is manipulating your device, and then he goes a step forward and says with your right hand, to which I immediately throw up my right hand in the video and the body cam footage of the beginning of the interaction, and he says, well, and then, from there it snowballs into some additional lines of questioning that were a little out of left field.
But did you feel at all when, at this point, the officer doubles down?
Oh, for sure. He even goes to the point where he asks me, to hand to God or to swear to God. And so me being me and my personality, I immediately throw out my right hand and say, hand to God. And he says, no, the other one. So I think at that moment, rewatching the video, that moment's harder to rewatch just because when you start to analyze it, you realize he's not identifying my right arm or hand, for lack thereof, as a hand, right? By asking me to then put my left hand up as an act of swearing to God or to hand to God. So that rewatching it is where I feel like it deserves its time to address and to kind of bring up limb difference, adaptive athletes, anyone who just looks not, normal or society's normal, and how those interactions can go, how they can affect, I might be able to laugh it off, but for every one of me, there's several others that could destroy their entire day. What if I was a veteran who tragically lost my arm and it wasn't just from birth, I wasn't as comfortable with it? That could have really pushed somebody over the edge in that moment or after the fact, and just created a lot of unintentional suffering, I think, that needs to be kind of addressed and looked at in terms of that phrase or that mannerism that he took with it was just not okay.
Do you feel that this officer was sufficiently trained to deal with someone that doesn't have their
I would
right
say if my interaction is an inkling of what he's been trained on, then the answer would be no.
You don't think he was trained enough to deal with a situation like this?
If he was, he did not embody that training during my stop.
What would your message be to that officer?
It would be just, I know we talked a little bit earlier, but I think it would be, to take time to, think about that interaction, do a little bit of self-reflection as well, and see, why you reacted the way you reacted, why you took those additional steps to, like we all say, double down on it. Why did you, ask me to put my hand to God over the situation? Was it really that serious of a situation that you felt like you needed to escalate it or to, inflame the stop itself? Before just, if you knew going into it you were going to write the citation, just write the citation. All the extra stuff was that it was extra and it was unnecessary. And I would hope that I hope that he gives himself grace for the interaction, and that, we can look at it in the videos and say, oh, we should have done this different, we should have done that different. Thankfully, both of us walked away from that interaction and we were both okay. Nobody was, harmed other than some emotional damage, I think, on both parts. And so from there, it just becomes a matter of, I really hope he takes the time to think about, okay, what is appropriate, what's inappropriate, and to be open enough to have those conversations, whether it's a friend or you reach out like through the department to find out what kind of contacts you guys have internally, to kind of go over those situations for if you do pull somebody over that, I don't necessarily like this word, but handicap or disabled. I don't identify as those. I know that there's probably several others in my community that do, so I don't want to say that that's not how you should address us. I like limb difference, or, I'm heavy on the athlete side, so I typically gear myself more towards like an adaptive athlete. But that's kind of where I'm at, is to get that additional knowledge, to seek out what could I have done differently? How do I address these people? How can I make it comfortable for everyone, not just yourself?
I do wonder, though, if you think ultimately you got good news over the past couple of days. And what was that?
Obviously, this morning it got dismissed. I found out that it was dismissed, and that was amazing. I made sure to still show up to my court date, same floor, same courtroom, on time, just to double down on making sure that it was dismissed and that I had tangible proof, right? That like I'm not in default of anything. I followed all the guidelines. And it was even better because I didn't have to appear before the judge, therefore I did not incur any court costs relating to the citation.
The fact that this officer decided to withdraw his complaint, in other words, he's the one who asked for the case to be dismissed. The officer asked for the case to be dismissed. What does that say about this case?
I think it says that, he realized, whether it was through the social media or whether it was through his own self-reflection, that, hey, maybe this wasn't a great idea. Maybe I didn't handle it correctly. Obviously, he didn't choose to move forward with fighting it in court, which I was thankful for. I'm sure that he's also thankful for it, because it has, like I said, it's catapulted us both into this inherent visibility in the community that I think for me it's been great. I don't know about for him, so I would like to think that he came to it on his own fruition and said, you know what, this is not as soon as he got the subpoena that said that I was challenging the ticket, I would hope that he then contacted whoever he contacts to say, I don't want to push this any farther.
Right. But does it say anything about policing the fact that he had said that you were using your right hand to use a mobile device, which was clearly not possible?
So, like I said, with that, I know that it took a long time to get to this court date. And we had, a online court before that. So it's just been a long process. I was not interested in delaying it any further. It was very cumbersome to get the body cam footage. It was very cumbersome to have to wait this long for a judgment on something that was so frivolous. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at, is that I don't agree with the system. I don't agree that it should take this long. I don't agree that we should have been in this predicament in the first place. I don't know how you put words to exactly what transponded during that, or accurate feelings towards, a particular establishment, or globally, quantify it as like the justice system or police. It was more one specific person who really did not take it well that I had one arm.
That officer will probably see this video. He'll probably see this clip. What would you say to him?
I would say, hello, Officer Casada. No.
What would you say?
I would say hi first. I would introduce myself, because we got off on the wrong foot, but more than that. And I would, treat him as a human, like I deserved to have been treated in that moment. And really get down, and like we talked about, what I had wished of him is I would start the conversation very openly of, hey, this is the problem that we had during this, interaction. This is how I felt like it could have been handled differently. Explain to me your side. Explain to me what you were thinking. How did we get to this point? And then from there, kind of just see where our two sides can kind of come together and say, hey, look, here's how we discuss limb difference. Here's how you address somebody. Here's things that you probably shouldn't do, like make them raise their hands to God. But
how did you feel when he made you do that?
So immediately I was being my normal self and threw up my hand to God. He did not recognize that as a sufficient hand to raise to God, which is ironic considering that's who gave it to me. And then he proceeds to ask me to do my left, which is like, okay, cool. Watching it after the fact, getting that body cam footage over the weekend and sitting with it, I realized immediately that I felt very uncomfortable. I handle things a little differently. I channel a lot of comedic relief for all of these things. I know there's a lot of people in my community, in the limb difference community, disabled, handicapped, that felt very much that was inappropriate. And like reiterating again, the circumstances behind why I'm missing an arm are drastically different from somebody else that you might see that's missing an arm or missing a limb in general.
You've had this your whole life.
My whole life. I was born this way. It's never going to change. It's never going to hold a phone. It's just going to be how it is. Today is
It's never going to hold a phone.
No. I mean, no. I was going to say prosthetic, but I don't even wear those. So, and to go one step further, the law literally states you have to manipulate it with that. So, I mean, I have 5 fingers, but they're not manipulating anything. So.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you think is important to add or that you want to highlight?
I'd like to highlight that I don't inherently believe that that the officer came at me with malice. I don't think that was the intention. I don't think it was to be mean. I don't think it was to be dirty, nasty. I truly give him grace in the fact that I think he was surprised by it. The way that his body reacted upon seeing it, the way that He started to stammer around some of his words, or to re-ask and then, double down and mimic some behavior that doesn't really align with somebody that's thinking, 100%. I don't think that he came at me with malice. And I think that for every one of him, I've had several other sheriff officers say what happened was inappropriate. And that's all I needed, was reassurance from somebody in those same shoes that he was in, to say, this was inappropriate. We're so happy that it was dismissed. That's all that I needed, was that vindication of, I'm not crazy, I'm not, all these things, right, that you can be labeled, or I didn't react poorly, or if I would have just done this or done that, that's not the route we're going here. So to hear somebody say that they had no problem with how I reacted, and how I reacted was perfectly valid for the situation that I was put in, and the questions that were being asked or prompted to me, was very validating as a person and just as a member of the community, that I don't have to walk around or think that, I'm going to get pulled over again or targeted or anything like that, because I know from multiple members of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office that
they agreed with you.
Essentially, yeah.
The reaction on social media, what has that been like?
That's been wild. If you've been following along from the beginning, you know that I took a 1.5 day hiatus, because immediately when everything went viral, I panicked. I've been very open about having, panic attack disorder, generalized anxiety, and stuff like that. So having that flood of Insta famous or TikTok famous, I thought I would be ready, but I also didn't think that video would do it. It's been 36 years, I've looked the same. It was just this one particular incident that has just, all of a sudden it's exploded. I have mothers in my inbox telling me, my daughter has the same limb difference as you. I'm so happy to see you do all these workouts. I'm so happy to see that, you're thriving in life. It's one of my biggest worries. And now I don't have to worry about that anymore.
And you stood up for yourself.
Yes. And it's been wonderful to get to experience that too. You have these people from different continents, different countries coming into my inbox, asking me questions, telling me things, letting me be a safe space for them to ask questions about, do you get half price when you get your nails done? What was it like growing up? Did you have any hardships? Can you tie your shoes? What's the hardest thing you do? All of those things are now approachable for people that never had that ability before. How many people do you know that you could text right now and say, what's it like to be in a wheelchair? What's the hardest thing you go through every day? How do you brush your teeth? How do you do this? Who does that for you? And then it's very similar to somebody with limb difference. There's a slew of things that people think, oh, there's no way you can do that. There's no, or they're surprised by it, right? And I'm like, what do you think I do all day?
Right.
Just sit around and be like, sir, tie my shoes. No, I'm gonna get down. I'm gonna tie my kids' shoes. It's normal, and that's what I think I would love people to take away, is that limb difference is normal. Somebody who looks different than you is normal. All of that is normal. We're done with this cookie cutter image, whether it's your body type, your color, your ethnicity. We're done with that. Normal is whoever you're most comfortable being.